ladies and gentlemen, and colleagues on the dais. Little rainy weather, and the first thing in the day, it tells little on the attendance. Anyway, let's go ahead. Good morning to all of you, and we look at today's topic, that is the Nexus FEWN, F-E-W-N, that is Food, Water, and Energy Nexus. Up till now, there have been approaches. Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN concentrates on food part of it. The Energy Association concentrates on the energy part of it. And World Water Development Organization through the World Development Report, which is of course a relatively recent phenomena on the water part of it. When we look at it, all the three approaches are like three horses running in different directions with no linkage, interlinkage, interdependent, integration, or inclusiveness. Whereas, if you look at right from the beginning, as I said in my opening remark on the first day, all old civilizations have come along the major rivers. And that established two things. A, there is water. Where there is water, there is life. If there is no water, there is no life. When water and life is there, then the third thing required is how to sustain that life. That life requires two things. One is energy, and to provide that energy, the food. The food could be vegetarian food, non-vegetarian food, semi-cooked food, fully cooked food, and depending on the topographical, climatic conditions, the resource endowment of different geographies and different countries, different nations, within a nation, in different regions, different states, different districts. So there is a very wide variation, especially if you look at our country, India. We may have more than 200 types of foods. All different, and every few hundred kilometers, the food complexion changes, the ingredients change, the way we eat it changes, and so on. But what doesn't change is the presence of water and the need for energy. Therefore, for man to survive, grow, and develop from the prehistoric agriculture, agro-based economy, primitive economy, to the stage of evolution where the settlements came up, the colonies came up, the habitats came up, and people started living in communities. Then came the development, then came the increasing need of water. And that water the demand is increasing with the economic development, with the improvement, better services for health required, sanitation, different agricultures, different services, different transports, and different industrial products and industrialization based on agro-processing, from the food processing, from milk processing, and so on and so forth, including the alcoholic beverages, where again water is a very, very important component. So when we look around, we find water is needed everywhere in every activity. But water is a finite resource, which means at the global level or at the humanity level, its supply is limited. It is not unlimited. Limited in the sense that it is a sweet, potable, usable water. Rest is 97% is saline seawater, which of course man has been able to tame, to desaline it, to make it fit for use, for drinking, for washing, for sanitation, and for all different purposes, including agriculture. That puts a question mark on how do we go ahead with the water. The demand is increasing. Supply is limited. Desalination has a very limited scope depending on because it is very energy intensive. The scope for membrane technology and the cost of membrane technology to desalinize water still has not come down beyond a level which makes desalinated water quite expensive and not supplyable at a massive scale for the whole economy, country, or state because of the high cost of energy. Yes, Middle East countries and certain countries which have cheap energy available, they can afford to do salination at a reasonable cost or a reduced cost or at a low cost so as to provide it at a massive scale. Then we look at the food habits. The vegetarian food requires something like India, China, about 2,500 calories per capita. 2,500 liters per capita per year. Whereas the non-vegetarian diet requires almost 3 times. Depending on, if you compare the Indian and Chinese diet with the Latin American diet, the water requirement per kg of food and energy is almost 1:7 times. So with the development, there is a need to modify, moderate, and adjust the food habits according to the resource endowment, according to the availability of water, according to the availability of water-based products, agriculture, food processing, its transportation, marketing, and distribution. Same is the case with water. Water you can have at one place. First you have to harness it, then you have to transport it, then you have to restore it, then you have to distribute it across all the household, which is a very big network and requires very large quantities of energy, effort, infrastructure, investment. Therefore, to have that investment and that infrastructure, one needs money, investment, either by the state governments or by the private or by the cooperative or by the citizens grouped together. That in itself again is dependent on what is the quantum of demand and how the system is organized. Because most of the state governments in the developing and the emerging countries do not have sufficient funds to provide the water of the required quality, required quantity at the required place and in required quantum. Therefore, there is a need to investigate, to find out, to mobilize resources from different sources to make the water available. This is just a few thoughts that came to my mind, that when we look at there is no existence for food without water and no existence for water without food as on today. Because energy is the intermediate. And that is why, as I said in the beginning, that there is a need for an integrated, all-inclusive, interdependent approach to look at the cause, effect, and the interdependence between these 3 resources so that the human civilization moves at a pace, moves to a point, moves to a level which we call a sustainable social global goal, where there is a development with lower CO2 footprint, with good health, good sanitation, good food, and overall prosperity. Thank you, gentlemen. With this, we can look at various aspects of water, various aspects of food. Again, it is such a wide subject. I had written out almost 300 pages, and I just wanted to collate how to put them together and arrive at something if it is possible. Then I found there are so many variations, so many permutations, combinations, and it's such a vast subject that it requires a real effort to handle it at an integrated level. Thank you very much.